disad ever created. All right. So first of all, what is a politics disad? Who can give me a brief explanation? Yeah.
Isn't it like another piece of legislation is more important than the plan has?
Yeah, pretty much the politics disad just calls into question the implications the plan has in terms of other pieces of legislation that are going through Congress and what will happen if those bills get delayed or they don't get passed because of the plan. But we'll get into a little more detail in a second. First of all, let's talk about the structure of a disad. What are the 4 parts? Andre.
Uniqueness, length, and impact.
Yes. Good job, Andre. All right. So the structure of a politics disad is pretty similar to that as well. There's only a couple of nuances that make the politics disad a little more confusing, which is why we have a lecture about this today. And so, first of all, before we talk about that, there's 2 types of politics disads. The first one is, the first one is an elections disad. These ones are a little bit different than the agenda disad that I'll be talking about the most of the time. The elections disad just talk about how the public would perceive the bill or the public would perceive the plan and how that would change their voting patterns. What would it mean for different political parties, moderates? How would they respond to the plan? This is true in terms of both midterm elections as well as presidential elections. The second disad that we consider a politics disad is an agenda disad, which is just like the SCIFTA disad that you have in your pre-camp file, which is the South Korean Free Trade Agreement. The plan stops it from passing, and South Korean Free Trade Agreement is good. We'll talk about that in a second. So the elections disad, like I said a second ago, always talks about different. I can talk about the 2 different presidential candidates that can go into Congress, go into office. So Obama versus Bachmann, who do you want? But the real question is whether or not the public will perceive the bill going through Congress, how that will change their voting patterns. This is also true of midterm elections, is what we call them. Every 2 years. There's also elections that go on in Congress. The president gets elected every 4 years, but there's also representatives get re-elected every 2 years, senators every 6. So every 2 years we have elections disad. So we also can have disads based off of whether or not there be Democrat or Republican-controlled houses of Congress. I just mentioned that. All right, the other disad, which I like a lot more, is the agenda disad, and it talks specifically about people in Congress, how different people like James Bruce would react to the plan. It calls into question things like political capital, as well as people like things like bipartisanship, partisanship, which are partisanship would be like people who are all Republicans, we're all band together, and all the people who are all Democrats are band together and not want to agree with each other, want to talk to each other, which also tends to have drastic implications for different bills that go through Congress. There are 2 types of agenda disads. The first one is Obama good, that's what we call it. Pretty much this is like these Obama good versus Obama bad sort of semantics, but Obama good is that basic premise of the disad is that there's a piece of legislation that's going to pass now, the plan stops it from happening, and that piece of legislation is good. So you can think of it as Obama being good because he's able to get a certain piece of legislation passed right now, but the plan derails those efforts. The other type of disad, Prezi. So as Obama bad disad, and it's pretty much just opposite of Obama good. So a certain bill is not going to pass now. The plan caused it to pass. That bill is bad. These types of disads are a little more tricky and don't come up as often in disad, or people don't read these as often because the link scenarios are kind of tricky, and Obama good is a little bit easier. It has a lot more diversity in what arguments you can make. So there are 2 types of uniqueness questions that you have to be ready to go on for any politics disad. The first one's like the bill specific, whether or not SCIFTA will pass. Will the debt ceiling be raised? Will START get passed? Any sort of bill like that, you have evidence that talks about will it pass, will it pass. Also important is the top level uniqueness, which is calls into question the larger scheme of what's going on in Congress at that point in time. So most of the time these aren't like specific to whichever politics instead you're reading, but talk about whether or not a bill has political capital. Is there bipartisanship or partisanship in Congress? What types of are you can also talk about like whether or not the Tea Party is trying to gain strength now, or they going away from the Republican Party. All these things implicate the politics of that, so you have to be able to explain or have evidence that says that Obama's political capital, he's able to pass SCIPTA. The cool thing about being neg, a lot of times is that their top level arguments are implicated in your bill-specific evidence. So you can have evidence that says that SCIPTA will pass because Obama has political capital. So that would be the bill-specific SCIPTA will pass because of the top level Obama has political capital. And so if you have evidence that implicates both of these into one card, that's going to put you way a lot farther ahead than the affirmative. All right, so this is my favorite part. The politics of STAT is the links. There are a ton of them, which makes, I think, pretty diverse. The first one is popularity, which is one that you probably have heard of the most, or the one that you're most familiar with. The plan is popular. The plan is unpopular. Things like that. You can call a lot of times that these reasons why the plan is unpopular or popular, you'll see over time. So you'll see that a lot of times Republicans don't like certain bills because they spend money. You'll see that Democrats don't like bills because they want things like helping the public. They want big business, stuff like that. They want unions. That's what Democrats want. You'll see a lot of times that these certain themes are reoccurring over whatever politics is that you see over time, and you'll see that a lot of times that they'll be the same. The second one is bipartisanship, partisanship. This one is kind of similar to popularity, but a little bit tricky. In fact, a lot of times you can believe that even if the plan is popular in the minds of Republicans, it can still cause partisanship because of the fact that maybe like Republicans and Democrats want to stay looking at like as if they were who's in charge. The Republicans don't want to give the Democrats a win this early to closer to election because they want to look as if they are strong and people are going to vote for them in the elections as well. So you can. That's a tricky argument that you can employ whenever you know maybe the plan is just like, it's just popular. Maybe it really just is. You can call into question whether or not the Democrats or Democrats or Republicans would be willing to let a party win. Another link is the focus link. And this one is really important a lot of times like right before the end of a session of Congress or right before the end of any session, so the end of their term, right before Christmas, anything like that, when the Congress goes on a break pretty much for a while. And you can say that, like the plan, let's say that the Congress is really focusing on getting SCIPTA passed now, but they have a limited amount of time to talk about it. The plan would divert the focus or the attention away from SCIPTA and talk about SPS or any space policy, whatever after you read, and that will prevent the discussion on SCIPTA from happening. This one's also really helpful whenever you, in the same way that maybe you don't have, maybe the other team's just like the head that the plan's popular based on like better evidence than you. You can read a focus link a lot of times in the block that says, so you can get leeway on this, and that even if the plan's popular, the plan still diverts attention away from SCIPTA. We have a limited amount of time in order to get SCIPTA passed before the winter session. So those three links, the first three links are pretty much ones that you're going to see in every debate, politics debate, that every neg and every app's going to be willing to go on. The rest of these are a little more complicated, and they also are going to make you be a lot farther ahead in the block or in the neg, on 2&R, whenever you're trying to go for this, if the other team doesn't have it. So the first one is a center or representative specific. You can read evidence that says that Boehner or other members of Congress who don't like the plan or do like the plan, like Lieberman, people like that. So you can read cards that are specific to a senator or representative. If you read that card, what is something that you also have to read after that? Does anyone know? Yeah.
Internal finance key, like the open capacity.
Exactly. You have to win that either that senator or representative has clout in Congress or that their vote is important. So you have to find evidence that says that the way that Boehner votes or the way that Lieberman votes is key, and other people will follow suit with them, or other people will mirror what they're doing, which sometimes a lot more difficult to find. The next one is a flip-flop link, which, interestingly enough, is like you'll find a lot of these, I think, on the space topic, especially since things like the Constellation project were just defunded. So you can read evidence that says that switching on what Obama, like let's say, Obama is just defunded a lot of things for moon mining, right? So the plan coming to Congress would be, and getting passed, would be a complete flip-flop from what he said. First, we should not moon the mine, and then he moves on to we should moon the mine. That's considered a flip-flop, and the link that argument here is that...
Moon the mine.
What?
You just said moon the mine.
Mine the moon. Sorry. That would implicate the legitimacy of Obama's global capital, and also call into question whether or not he's able to persuade other people to get the item passed. Another one is a lobbies link. So I don't know why this isn't talked about more in politics debates, but lobbies have a lot of power and persuasion in Congress. Who knows what a lobby is? Yeah, man.
It's basically like a group that tries to get something passed, so they like take the Congress people out of dinner and stuff and like try to push them forward.
Sort of, yeah. I wouldn't consider them bribing because that's illegal. But the lobbies are pretty much just like advocacy groups that have a lot of money that want to see things get done in Congress. So they're people that are, for example, there's a lot of lobbies for like the coal industry. There's lobbies for the like the teachers union. There's lobbies for the AARP. There's lobbies for all these types of things, and these people are, whenever they have lots of money, and so they donate money to people in Congress who are trying to run. So let's say Sally Brown is trying to win a seat in Minnesota. She needs money to do so, and so they will donate money to her campaign sometimes, which means that they also have a lot of sway on her votes later on. Lobbies are very important because they also lobby against other people that they don't necessarily donate money to, and there's lots of rules that regulate what they can do. But the bottom line, especially all you need to know for politics, is that they have a lot of sway. People will listen to them, and what they want a lot of times gets done. A lot of it's behind the scenes as well, so you've got to keep that in mind. So you can read a link that says that a certain lobby really hates the plan, and then this is really tricky, is what do you need? If you have a card that says lobbies hates the plan, what's the next link you need? Yellow.
Lobbies affect what Congress does.
Yeah, but you want to have it a little bit more specific, so the lobbies affect whether or not SKIPTA will be passed. The lobbies affect whether or not a certain bill will be able to get through Congress. Those cards tend to be really tricky and difficult to find because a lot of times lobbies are specialized in certain interests and they don't really care about like random other things. Another link is a public popularity link. This one, like I said earlier, it's more, a lot of times you have public links, a lot of times when you have an elections disad, but it's a little different. You can have it on a politics, on an agenda disad as well. You can have a card that says public hates or loves the plan. What do you need after that? If you have a card that says public likes the plan or hates the plan, what do you need?
Public is key to political capital or like getting passed or whatever.
Exactly. A card that says that the public's opinion affects what goes on in Congress, affects votes in Congress, or